The opening words this morning are by Reverend Gretchen Haley. Let astonishment be possible. Whatever you have come in anticipating, whatever you expect or worry for our world, for the future, for our lives, let it go. Make space in your heart to be surprised. Make room in your soul for a new story to take shape. Let astonishment be possible. At this life that remains a miracle, imagine here the bursting of joy, relentless and resilient, coming in waves, washing over us with music and story, silence, and still this dreaming together, being hope for each other and courage to believe in this new day dawning for us all. Come, let us worship together.
Hear the wind of change. 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 You can feel the wind of change, the healing wind of change. See, we can see the wind of change. We can be the wind of change. Hear the wind.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Linda Hayen, and I serve this fellowship as the chair of your Board of Trustees. We extend a special welcome this morning to those who are visiting us for the first time today or early in their journey with us. We invite you to fill out a visitor form and take a green visitor packet home with you if you haven't already done so. Folks attending the service online can find the visitor form in the chat or the comments section. Once again, thank you all for joining us this morning on this continued journey. And now I'm going to have Reverend Diana light the chalice. If you join me in our chalice lighting, written by Reverend Scott Taylor, inspired by and with the use of words of John Shar. May this flame cast its light toward the coming days, reminding us that the future is not simply a place we are going, but a place we are creating. The path of new possibilities will not be found but made. A new world is waiting to be built. May our time together light the way. And now, please join us in singing hymn number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In.
Today we will be a joyful day. we arrive here today, as we do every week, with both joys and sorrows in our hearts. And one of the many promises that we make to each other in this beloved community is that we will both help celebrate the joys and help bear the sorrows. If you have a brief personal joy or sorrow to share this morning, we invite you to raise your hand and an usher will bring the microphone to you.
I gotta go first. I'm Brian. Two things. First is I am switching jobs. So my last day of my current job is on Thursday, and then September 2nd I start a new job. So wishes for that. Kind of excited to start anew, and after a long time get to choose to leave a job and get a new one. My second joy started as a sorrow, which was one of my photos was rejected from the Minnesota State Fair, but it was accepted into a rejected exhibition. Exhibition of rejected artists at the Borough Art Gallery in St. Paul. The exhibition runs between now and September 20th, I believe. So if you're in downtown St. Paul, there's a great exhibition of artists who were rejected from the Minnesota State Fair.
Barb Gillian, you're going to be the best of the rejects, right? Yeah. I know. I intend to say this every Sunday, especially this summer. I am so grateful to Becky McPeak, who is largely responsible for our beautiful flowers all season long. And if you haven't seen them today, along the back fence, there's a bush with clusters of dark, dark berries, and she told me they're elderberries, and they're fascinating. But thank you, Becky, wherever you are.
Hi, my name, is this on? Oh, there we go. Hi, my name is Chris, and I have both a sorrow and a joy to share. Sorrow is that my husband yesterday lost a friend from college, a longtime friend. He died on his way to the cath lab of a massive heart attack. It was sudden, and we got a call from his wife. Fortunately, we were able to, she gave us their state fair tickets because obviously she's not going. We were able to share them with somebody who needed them, which was nice. But my joy, though, is that our great niece just turned 1 year old. 1? Yeah, little sweetie.
Sarah Collins, I got a joy. My oldest niece, Olivia, is starting her first year of college at East Carolina University. Unfortunately, I also learned of a sorrow that college contracts with Avelo for their athletic department, and they've been contracting for deportation flights. So pray that my niece meets wonderful politically active people that will disrupt her family's status quo, such as I did, and she will help on the good fight. And then once I know that, I will be helping her.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Coate. Some of you know my daughter, Genevieve. She graduated from Madison in the spring, did a Fulbright research project over the summer, and just landed her first full-time job in Madison at a Spanish immersion learning center. So.
My name is Candace McClean, and I'm so proud of my 9-year-old granddaughter who won 9 blue ribbons at the county fair and best of show for her mug. So very, very proud of her. Her pottery mug. Her mug. Yeah. She's been doing pottery out of mud, but this one was.
Barb again, wanted to say a special welcome to Beverly Schmidt, whom we haven't seen here for quite a while. Beverly, in that beautiful jacket, seated next to Sonia Johnston, our former Minister of Music, seated next to Irene Asp, who comes occasionally too, but splits her time between us and the Rice Lake, Wisconsin Fellowship. But it's good to see you all. Yay.
I'm Karen Olson. I learned last night that my cousin Peter has entered hospice. I'm wishing him a peaceful journey.
My name's Ian. Next week I start ninth grade on Tuesday, and also at BEC, Bloomington Educational Cable, they film all the high school sports games. I've been chosen as the associate student producer for football this year.
Are there any joys or sorrows showing up online? No. Okay. Well, we hold all of the joys and sorrows that have been shared, but also those that are unspoken, but which we know we carry in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts. Our centering space reading this morning is by Michelle Collins. Changes abound around us, within us, between us, in our communities, our neighborhoods, and our beloved faith communities. Changes abound. May we each find the balance point we need as we move through our ever-changing world. The balance between the old and the new, between the known and the unknown, between the familiar and the perhaps bold and risky possibilities that may be there waiting. I have just one announcement this morning, and it's a reminder that our ingathering and water communion service will be held on September 14th. Please note that it is not the usual first Sunday after Labor Day because Labor Day falls early this year, and the choir and Nicole requested a little more time to get ready. So we're doing it on the 14th. Don't forget to bring some water, although we will have a pitcher for anyone like me who sometimes leaves their water at home on the dining room table. That day, we will also be doing a blessing of the backpacks, and that is for all ages. So if you have a backpack or a briefcase or another bag that you would like to have blessed for school or work or another important activity, we invite you to bring it with you that morning to receive a blessing. Are there any other brief announcements that need to be shared? All right. I don't see any, so we'll move on. Generosity is one of the spiritual qualities that we aspire to as Unitarian Universalists, and it is one of the practices that we nurture in this community. With our offering, we give of our resources to support the work of this congregation. We know, of course, that giving financially is only one of the ways that we support that work. We do it too with our time and with our talents. All three are necessary for the vitally important work that we do for each other and for the wider community. We donate half of our collection each Sunday to support one of our community partners, organizations who are in alignment with our values. For the summer months, our sharing partner is Bloomington Pride, of which we are a sponsor. You can give in person as baskets are brought around, or online using either the QR code on the screen and on the printed order of service, or you can use the Donate Online link on our website. Please give as generously as you are able.
So before we begin talking about the new beginning here, it seems appropriate to take a minute, or maybe 6.5 minutes, to look behind us, to see where we have come from. Minnesota Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship was officially born in February of 1966. Thanks to Reverend Diana for reminding me, that means that in February of 2026, it will be our 60th anniversary. So today I wanted to thank Barb for pointing out our wonderful, some of the members who have been around long time here that are here today. And I'm just so happy to see these familiar faces that I haven't seen in a while. And I just want you to know that this is kind of a preview of what's to come in February when we celebrate our 60th anniversary. So in preparing for today, I went on our website and I came across this video that was made 10 years ago for the 50th anniversary. And it was created thanks to Kathy Eager, raise your hand, and Beverly Schmidt. And who? David Olson. Oh, and David Olson. Yeah. Thank you. I don't remember if I watched this 10 years ago or not, but even if you did, it's really worth watching again. Our minister at the time, David Breeden, interviewed 5 of our original founders, Helen Hayen, Betty Gutman, and Luella and Red Newstrom. So this created 3 hours of video footage. Then Kathy and Beverly watched these 3 hours of video over and over and over again. Kathy told me it took them about 300 hours to watch this and edit it down to 22 minutes, which is just the perfect length. And they used equipment from the Bloomington TV station to do this. It's called the Founders Video, and it can be found under the About section and then go under Our History, and it pops right up. It was just delightful to see and hear these old friends reminisce about the early days of our fellowship. And something I didn't know was that the original name for this fellowship was going to be South Suburban Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, SSFUUF. So I'm really glad they changed it. So also in looking this over, I realized that my own involvement here began 30 years ago, almost exactly. So I've been here for exactly half of our history, which is pretty cool. So I decided to make a list of memories that I have from the early years as I remember them. And I think those of you who have been here for a while will remember some of these things too. And the newer folks, please just indulge us for a few minutes. So here's my list. And be thinking about your own list too, because in February, everyone will have an opportunity to do this, and it'll be really fun. Here's my list. Like many of us, Betty Gutman welcomed me at the door with a big smile my first time here. The May Day celebration when we had a real maypole and a maypole dance in the parking lot. Circle suppers, meeting at Creekside Community Center when this building was being remodeled. All of our former ministers, but especially Mary Samuels, David Breeden, and Roberta Haskin. The old steering committee meetings that would last for 3 or 4 hours because every committee chair would give a very extensive report on what their committee was doing. Phyllis Fairman, working in the kitchen, our kitchen goddess, we called her. George Fairman, always making sure that everything was running smoothly. And George singing, "It's a Wonderful World." I knew that one would choke me up. And Beverly singing, "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas." The band called Zenith Avenue. What was that song they sang? "Let the Mystery Be." Frank and Mary Tees singing "Baby, It's Cold Outside." and Sonia. Sonia's music and Sonia's shows were just absolutely amazing. And Dawn Park, always smiling, wearing some crazy outfit in every show she did. Guest speakers that spoke on so many random topics. Frank Dreisbach, having dialogue after the sermon during the service. Al Hayen and his insightful and intellectual comments. Doing the play Inherit the Wind with our youth, and Donna Kopnick organizing all the women in the fellowship to play the townspeople and providing them with all those hats that ladies used to wear to church services back in the day. David Peliquin playing the piano, Janet Stevens in the old office, folding the newsletter and folding the programs on Sunday morning. Now those are just a very small list that I wrote out of nostalgia. There have been many amazing and wonderful people who have contributed countless hours in more recent years as our staff and our volunteers have evolved. But it's really fun to think about those early days. And I do encourage all of you to start jotting down some memories. Kathy Eager, who is chair of our archives committee, and Beverly, who is the former chair, right, of archives? Yeah, Beverly started the whole archives, so thank you, Beverly, for keeping. They have been collecting clippings and photos and writings for all of these years and organizing them, and we can't thank you enough. I am so grateful for all of the people who have created this amazing place. All right. We can all learn and grow in so many ways here. There have been many, many changes over the years, and we've weathered them all, and now we are in the midst of more changes, and we are so happy to have Reverend Diana join us in this journey. MVUF has made an impact on so many people's lives, and hopefully also within the larger community and even the world. And I would like to end with these words written by Harriet Duray, and she wrote these back in January of 2015, 10 years ago. In the beginning, the founders gathered, they laughed, sang, planned, saw a vision of what was to be. They flew over hurdles, did the hard work, and formed a fellowship, a place to look inside ourselves and find the best that we can be, a place to celebrate our blessings and heal our wounds, a place to laugh and sing and wonder, a place to belong. Those who join us bring their talents, their gifts, and dreams, teaching the old and the new to sing in harmony.
Thank you, Linda. Before I start my reflection, I'll just say that as part of my onboarding into this new ministry with you, when I arrived, one of the things on my desk waiting for me was the 50th anniversary book that was created, which included that poem that Linda just shared. And so I read that. I watched the founders video as recommended by Kathy, and Kathy also loaned me a 40th anniversary booklet. So I've been steeping myself in the history and the stories of the congregation, and it's just been a delight to have that way of getting to know you as well as getting to know you in the present tense. So thank you for lifting up some more of those stories. I didn't know all of those. So shifting tack. As only a few of you probably know at this point, I grew up in a military family, and we moved a lot during my childhood. Do I have any other former military brats here or military members? No, okay, so one in the back. So we moved a lot, by which I mean that by the time I left for college at age 17, my family had lived in 8 homes, not counting temporary housing in a few places, in 5 states and 3 countries. I went to 2 elementary schools, 1 middle school, and 2 high schools. I was the new girl so often that it seemed almost like a part of my identity rather than a temporary role. I think maybe that makes me a little bit of an expert on new beginnings. In my 20s, I was even hired to write a brochure for one Air Force base to use to support families with kids, helping them adjust to moving. I have to confess that as a kid, I kind of hated moving. My parents had each grown up living in the same house from birth until they left for college. And for each of them, moving around the country and later even moving to different countries was always the beginning of an exciting new adventure. For me, it was a sad ending, leaving friends and familiar schools and neighborhoods and activities. I was absolutely sure that when I was an adult, I would live in one place for the rest of my life. No more moving for me. Well, from the laughter, you already know or can guess that that's not how it played out. Since I started college, which was something like 37 years ago, I have lived in 9 states and 1 other country. I haven't moved as often as we did in my childhood. We usually spent somewhere between 1 and 3 years in each place, with one very rare exception when we lived in the same house for 6 years when my dad got 2 back-to-back assignments in the same place. As an adult, I've tended to stay put more like 5 to 8 years, though a few places were shorter. I've sometimes wondered why I kept moving, and why I also have made several other significant life changes, including in my career with a call to the ministry, when I used to hate change so much. I decided that a big part of it is probably about the freedom of choice. When I was a kid, I had no choice, and now from my adult perspective, I can see that actually neither did my parents. When you're in the military, you can make requests about where you would like to go next. But in the end, the Air Force decided where it most needed my dad, and that is where we went. The form that they used to submit their requests, that military members used, I don't know if it's still called this, but in my dad's day, the nickname for that form was the dream sheet, because you knew you were dreaming if you thought you were choosing where you went next. As an adult, I have chosen each of my moves. None of them were chosen for me by an employer. Even the moves that were made for work, either mine or my spouse's, were a choice, not a requirement. And now my wife and I are choosing to stay put, which is a change in and of itself, to create a longer-term home for ourselves here in the Twin Cities. We are at about the 4.5-year mark and still going strong, so it's looking good so far. I think it's probably true that most of us prefer change that we choose over change that we have no control over. However, I do recognize that even some changes that we don't choose, and maybe wouldn't choose if we were given the choice, can end up being good, or at least having some good results. For example, I was especially sad about moving to a foreign country at age 16, moving away from all of my friends just at a time when my focus was really shifting more to that peer group than to my family. But it meant that I got to travel and see parts of the world that lots of people my age or any age never had the chance to see. It made me realize that I love traveling to places that I've read about in history books but never seen, that I love learning about cultures different from my own. Most changes, I think, come with a mix of effects. Some we might call bad and others we might call good, and a mix of emotions too. Even though I didn't like moving as a kid, there were other kinds of new beginnings that I loved. I was always excited at the start of a new school year, even if I was also nervous in the years that I was starting at a new-to-me school after yet another move. I am enough of a nerdy kid at heart that I have always loved choosing new school clothes and buying the items on the school supply list for my new grade level. If we hadn't moved that particular year, I was also excited to see school friends who I might not have seen over the summer. And no matter what, I was always eager to jump into the learning that a new year would bring. This was true beginning in elementary school, and it has stayed true my whole life. It's even true now that I'm in a doctoral program, although I don't get new school clothes and far fewer new school supplies these days. I think part of the difference between new beginnings that I enjoyed and new beginnings that I didn't is in what came before the new beginning. Like I said, for my parents, those moves were exciting new beginnings, but for me, they were sad endings. Author William Bridges wrote about transition and described it as the slow internal process that people go through to come to terms with change, which is external and often fast. In his model, transitions actually start with an ending, followed by a neutral zone, and only then by a beginning. The ending is often a trauma or a loss of some kind, but not always. It can be a recognition that something's not working, that something needs to shift, that you've outgrown something. It can even be a positive experience, like my recognizing a call to the ministry or our choosing to enter into a shared ministry together beginning this month. But it still includes the ending of something else, a letting go of the way that things have been. In this case, of course, your new beginning with me follows the ending of your 9-year shared ministry with Reverend Laura. I know that your summer was a rough one for a lot of you, especially with the combination of Reverend Laura's departure and then the shocking loss of Patrick just as he was beginning his term as board chair. I am grateful to Linda, as I know you are, for accepting the invitation to step back in as board chair, a wise decision on the part of the board to have some stability in the midst of a lot of change. The endings that you've experienced in the last few months haven't been easy, certainly weren't of your choosing. And it's also true that in any group of humans larger than about 2 or 3, maybe larger than 1, you don't all have the exact same feelings about the changes. Some of you may still be psychologically in that ending phase or emotionally, and that's okay. When you are ready, the neutral zone is there and will lead you into the new beginning. The neutral zone, according to Bridges, is the place between what was and what will be. We sometimes refer to that as liminal space. In some ways, you had some of that in July, while Reverend Laura was in the process of leaving and in the pattern that this congregation has of the minister being sort of less visible in the summer while there are lay-led services, and I had not yet arrived. And in other ways, that neutral zone probably began for at least some of you back in the spring when you first learned that Reverend Laura would be leaving this summer. It probably felt like not quite neutral to most of you at the time. You probably had some feelings about it one way or the other. But in Bridges' theory of transition, it would be considered the neutral zone, or at least part of it. In individual personal transitions, the neutral zone is a kind of emotional wilderness, Bridges said, a time when it is not clear who you are or what is real. In the setting of a congregation, a ministerial transition hopefully shouldn't make you doubt who you are or what is real, but it might make you assess who you are now as opposed to who you were at the beginning of the ministry with Reverend Laura. It might make you wonder which things that were real and familiar with her will be somewhat or a lot different with me, and that's all perfectly normal. The neutral zone is often painful or at least uncomfortable, and it sometimes lasts longer than you would wish. But it is also where creativity, growth, and renewal flourish. This is true for congregations as well as individuals. A new beginning between a congregation and a newly hired minister can be a time full of opportunities on both sides. We will learn from each other, so that little girl who loves starting a new school year now gets to do the same thing, just starting a new congregational year instead. We will each bring each other fresh ideas from our past experiences. Sunday services will naturally feel somewhat different with a change in minister, though I am conscious of not making too many changes right at the beginning of our time together. I know that too much newness all at once can be disconcerting, especially as we are just getting to know each other and I am learning what is most important to you. In fact, on my first Sunday as your minister at the very beginning of this month, I led a mini retreat for the worship associates. And one of our activities was a group brainstorm about Sunday services here. And we had 3 columns on a flip chart. What's working well? What is not only working well, but so beloved that to change it would get somebody in trouble, probably me. And what could use a refresh or an update? It was actually a lively and lovely conversation. And that same kind of assessment, with the benefit of your knowledge about MVUUF and my ideas from other settings, can happen throughout congregational life. Again, this doesn't mean that I have come in to change everything. Not everything has to be done in a new way in a new shared ministry. Much will remain the same. Much is already working, if not beloved. The beautiful work that you have done with Reverend Laura, and for many of you with ministers before her, is not gone just because those ministers are no longer here. The ministry of a congregation belongs to the congregation, not the ministers who share in that ministry for a time. I always tell congregations, no matter how much of my career as a minister I spend in a particular congregation, even if it were my entire career, which is not the norm as it was a generation or 2 ago, I should always only be a brief chapter in the long history of the congregation, 60 years next spring, and then who knows how many decades or even centuries beyond that. The first time I told a congregation that I would be a brief chapter in their history, they were already 200 years old plus. So they saw completely that any one human being was only a short piece of the history. It's a little different in a younger congregation, but still should be true that I'm just one chapter. I'm just part of one chapter of your story. So coming back to bridges, the neutral zone can be a space of creativity and renewal, a space of imagination and dreaming, and we will do a lot of that together this year. It's only upon leaving that neutral zone that the real beginning fully happens, as we move into a new life, if it's an individual change, defined by our new understanding of ourselves and of our world. Now, right now, together, as we approach the end of just 1 month together, we probably have at least 1 foot in the neutral zone and the other starting to step into the new beginning. There are fewer unknowns than there were on August 1st, certainly for me and hopefully also for you, as we near the end of that first month of shared ministry. Even though this is my first time leading the Sunday service, many of you have met with me either individually or as part of a committee or other group, and we are beginning to learn about each other. That learning will continue, of course, including at next week's Sunday service, which is titled Getting to Know You, and is a chance for us to ask each other questions. It's not quite a question box service, but you're going to be welcome to ask me questions about me, and depending on how much time there is, I may reverse the focus and also ask the crowd some questions about you as a congregation. I won't be putting anybody on the spot individually, I promise. But we will continue to learn about each other and learn from each other throughout this year. I'm excited by the new beginning that we are creating together, and I hope that you are too. Blessings to us all on the journey forward. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 318, We Would Be One.
We would be one, as now each joy.
to do a little improvisational thing here, bear with me. We have some extra time, and Linda mentioned in her list of happy memories discussion after the sermon. This is not something I will do every single Sunday, so please do not take this as a promise that it will happen every week, but we have some extra time. So I would love to invite you to share, I don't want to limit you, but I would offer the prompt, if you need one, of what your hopes are for this new beginning. So that we're focusing on the positive aspects of transition, as Bridges would talk about it, rather than focusing entirely backwards. But I'm not limiting you to that. And I know I have not warned the ushers, but I can see that they are ready back there with microphones. Yay, ushers. All right, so I welcome your thoughts.
I would hope that this would be the start of older members who've been here longer and newer members that have been here shorter come together as one.
Beautiful.
Karen Olson, I too moved and moved and moved in my childhood. Never appreciated it, always the new girl. You have my sympathies.
Thank you. Yes, I am the new girl again, it seems, but it's not quite the same as all those school days. And you all have been beautifully welcoming. Thank you.
I know there's been a lot of talk about this, but I'm wondering if there's a hope for circle suppers to come back.
I think there is, and I'm going to say that that's entirely out of my purview, so I don't have a definitive answer for you on that, but I have certainly heard people talking about that hope.
Barb Gilliand, one of my hopes is that this year we achieve slow, manageable growth in numbers. What else? Oh, and that some of our work can be focused on helping our country return to a real democracy.
I'm going to interject an answer in there. I might do that with many of you. We'll see how that goes. So first of all, on slow, manageable growth, I'm a fan of slow, manageable growth. I want to share something that I was taught in seminary, which is that when congregations are setting goals, the goals should not include a number of people or a number of dollars, that those are outcomes of doing congregational life well. I do want to say with a caveat, I went to seminary a decade plus ago, and many things in the world have changed since then that have impacted congregational life, not just in Unitarian Universalism, but elsewhere. So I want to be clear that not growing does not automatically mean we're not doing congregational life well. There are factors beyond our control, but if we do it well, growth is more likely. So thank you for that. And then absolutely, you all will learn that I have a very strong social justice streak. That's a huge part of my personal call to ministry, and that was true let's just say 2016, but has become stronger in the years since then. So that will be part of our work together for certain. Tom's got his hand up.
I've really taken a lot of delight in how the congregation over the last few years has opened up to be welcoming to a whole array of people who have not traditionally been here. And that has energized the place, and I hope that we continue that open and welcoming nature so that we can affect the world beyond these walls and welcome everyone who is part of that world.
Thank you. I'm going to second that too. One of the things that attracted me to this congregation when I was looking at your search materials was the fact that you have, at the time, it was a humanist group, a Christian group, and a pagan group, and now as of this month there is also a Buddhist group. And that's pretty impressive theological diversity, to have enough people to have groups in each of those categories, and the fact that those groups are not competitive or dismissive or in any way unkind about each other, that they all coexist, or seem to so far, I hope I'm not wrong, coexist not only peacefully but lovingly within this congregation. And that is something that impresses me here, and that I also hope to have continue and grow.
I would like to see more community involvement, not just renting the building, but actually having the community interact with our members and do some community involvement, especially with children.
I want to see the laughter keep on going, because we've always had so much fun here.
Great.
I want to see the continuation of the positive energy that is in this room today. And I think everyone is happy. You know, we're happy with what, I'm very happy with your energy, your high level energy, your smiles, and the positivity of your message that we are a community. I definitely would like to see the continuation of the diversity in music. It's really attracted me here, so.
Yep, and just a plug that our formal music program starts back up with that in-gathering service on September 14th, when Nicole and the choir will be back on duty. So I look forward to that.
I'm Liv, and to continue the growth conversation, growth and mindset, you know, I think we have a lot of UU values, but this congregation does a really good job of keeping love at the center of those values.
I missed the last part of what you said.
Just conveying that as we all navigate UU values, we do a really good job of keeping love in the center of those values.
Yes, and from what I've read of the history, that was true before the official change to the wording of the values that actually put love at the center for us all to see. It sounds like you all were living that already.
Nicole isn't here today, but my hope is that she breaks out her pipes a lot more. She does awesome work with the choir, and I have specific musicians I'm very enthralled with, but when Nicole gets her pipes going, it's heavenly. So I hope she does that more this year.
Great.
Hi, Sarah Collins, and everybody's like giving like great ideas, and I agree with all of them. As a storyteller, I hope that we continue and actually make more space for people to share their stories, because that's where that has really tied me to the congregation and to the web of all your lives, and how I learn is through stories. Thank you.
Any comments from our online folks? No? Okay. All right, well then I'm going to invite Linda up to join me for the chalice extinguishing. Please join me in the chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And as we prepare to leave this time together, may we move forward with joy into new beginnings, trusting in each other to co-author a beautiful next chapter in the ministry of this congregation. May it be so.